Hi, my name is Liam. I'm a fourth year specialist in art history, and I'll be talking to you a little bit today about the program and why I decided to join. So for me, I've always really been interested in material culture and cultural heritage in general. But what really struck me at U of T was there are a lot of very interesting combinations of classes and programs that you can take at U of T, which are facilitated by the kind of intercampus and interdivisional work that you can do. Namely, I'm specifically interested in technical art history and material science. I actually took chemistry in my first year, and I'm hoping to become a conservation scientist. And I was able to take classes in this department, so namely Introduction to Conservation, Material Preservation. That is a fourth year kind of seminar specialty class that you can take as a specialist in art history, which is really, really great. But also I've been able to combine it with courses from professors in other Faculty of Arts and Science departments across the campuses as well, and be able to even work on some research, which has created pilot programs in technical art history in the U of T Scarborough as well as at UTSG. So there's been a lot of really, really, really great interdivisional support that I've received to study art history exactly the way that I'm interested in doing it. And it's been a really wonderful experience, I think, working with the department to do that. So I think that our program is really great at providing a strong uh, foundation in theory, which depending on how you feel, I know it's difficult for me to read it, but there is a lot of really, really, really great stuff that comes from being able to not only have a strong foundation, but then be able to apply that foundation. So just like in any other program, we have opportunities to do research opportunity programs or independent studies. So there's a lot of opportunity to actually apply the theory-based knowledge that you take in art history, which I find to be most useful. I'm planning to do I'm hoping that I'm going to be admitted into a graduate program for information sciences, specifically museum studies. And I find that there's a lot of overlap between courses such as art writing, art history methods, theories, and practices. These really great courses that allow you to understand but also apply certain courses, and especially even within our more, how do I put it? Like themes-based courses that are around like a certain area of art history, because of the requirements of the program, having to learn or take a certain amount of language credits, having to take classes in different areas and disciplines of art history, you really get even within the program, a surprising depth of knowledge of different kinds of art histories, how you can use them, how you can apply them. And I think that that's the absolute baseline that an art historian or someone working in the culture industry should have. So I think we certainly meet and exceed those expectations. You get to work with a lot of people who have worked or currently work in all of the major art institutions. I mean, I had a professor who was the former curator of the McMichael, which is a fantastic place. People who have worked at the power plant, which is in downtown Toronto, on our waterfront. There, you really get to meet people who have done everything in the industry. And I mean, within the industry, we have academics, but we also have people who have sold art. We also have people, worked at Sotheby's and Christie's, that sort of thing. People who, like I mentioned before, are art conservators working in the ROM. We have classes, in fact, like I mentioned, our Introduction to Conservation, which is taught by the entire lab of the ROM, the conservation lab, that is. Curators, actual artists, it's incredible. So there are so many, learning about art history is also a practice in learning about how to use art history. I think there's a very kind of there's a hyper awareness on the part of people taking art history, every student I've ever met, which is, what job am I going to get? Right? Like, what is this? What am I going to do with this? And every professor, every person you meet in the department is an example of what you can do with it. It's not just professors. There are a million bajillion different jobs that you can do with this wonderful degree, which I know I'm biased in saying it's wonderful, but I think it is. And you really get a realistic view of what art history is in the world by the people in our department. So yeah, I think the people are wonderful. So that's why I couldn't recommend it enough, for sure. I think what I would say to any first year is that, when you're taking your, what is that, FAH 120 or whatever the course code might be, when you're taking your first year art history sort of requirements and you're kind of getting through it, you finish it and you're like, okay, I just dipped my toes in. And then you have like 50 bajillion awesome courses to take, and you don't know where to go. I would say, take courses that, not only interest you, but which I think challenge your worldview in the base of knowledge that you're coming in with. I know, especially I was, and like many people in North America coming out of high school, very, very, very much taught in a Western mode and a European canon. And we have some amazing courses which are taught by professors who are professors in art history, but also East Asian studies, who do a lot of great work in East Asia. Tons of amazing courses about Islamic art and art of Africa. There are, like I said, language courses that you can take any language to fulfill. We do have, obviously, there are some European languages, but you can take any language with the support of the department, to take your studies anywhere that you want to go. So even though you might come in with, I think, an idea of what art history might be, like, we're the future of the industry, of the discipline, and it's up to us to decide what we want. So do what you want art history to be, not what it already is, and it'll go on to do many great things, and you can make it however you want. I have to say that I have never been more blown away by a curated space than when I was in the National Gallery in Ottawa, and I saw their redesigned Canadian exhibition. Completely redid the entire curated scheme of the Canadian exhibition in efforts to decolonize and come to reconcile with the Indigenous genocide of the Canadian National Project. And I've never had a worldview so recentered before, and it really, I think, struck deep in me how important it is to study what we study, because we have a real opportunity to create waves in supporting marginalized communities, to decentralize sort of white colonial practice and settler narratives with the work that we do. It's really inspired me to do this kind of work in the future, and hopefully across every museum which has these kinds of histories, which often art history museums are implicated. So yeah.